Well, first of all, thanks for tuning into Mount Juliet Monday. Let you know that if you would silence your mobile phones or whatever might be around you, they'll make a noise. We're going to go record the meeting and then post it on the website for viewing and sharing. Here, something later on. Now I know I heard that somewhere. You're welcome to go back and the link will be on our website. You can go back and listen to it. We'll end not later than 11:45 for those of you that have 12 o'clock lunch meetings. Marla will monitor the chat room, so if you have questions as we go, by all means, feel free to drop a note down in there. And want to just real quickly let everyone remind them what the purpose of the meeting. As we entered into this age of no in-person meetings, but needed a way to consistently deliver information and access to community leaders, county leaders, we have and are carrying out Mount Juliet Monday and Wilson County Wednesday, and a representative for about 30, 45 minutes, something like that each week on Monday and Wednesday. And today we are fortunate to have District 1 City Commissioner Ray Justice with us. And Ray, I've told others, it's kind of like Coleman and Company without a sponsor break halfway through. So with that, thanks for joining us today. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Mark. Everybody's doing well this morning. I am not very familiar with this, so I'm going to start talking. I would prefer that there are questions coming my direction so I know exactly what you're interested in me answering. I think everybody knows that we've got a lot going on in Mount Juliet, and we've got a lot going on in my district, in District 1, but in the city overall. Most of you have seen the Amazon building going up. I can actually say the name Amazon now, where I have not been able to say that over the last 6 months that we've been talking about Amazon. We weren't allowed to use the name Amazon, so it's kind of funny. The building is going up really, really fast. We have the Christmas place, I think is what it's being called, going up. We've got some businesses coming in Mount Juliet. I thought I would share with you, first of all, some interesting news that we've received here in the last couple of weeks. As you can imagine, because of the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever they happen to be calling it today, the sales tax numbers were down considerably. We were trying to do everything we could do to get those up, as was Mark and the chamber that works so hard for you guys. And so for the months of April, March, April, there was a 3% and 4% decrease in sales tax revenues coming into the city. The month of May, we wound up with a 48% increase over what we had this time last year. Surprising, because Kenny Martin actually went so far as to call the state and verify those numbers because we didn't believe them. And we found out since then that Lebanon also had a pretty significant increase, as did the county. So we're very, very pleased with our sales tax revenue and the numbers that have come in. We not sure what June is going to look like. Of course, we won't get those numbers until August. It's about a 2-month delay before we ever get to accurately look at those numbers. We get some teasers that come in from time to time, but with the accurate numbers come in about 2 months after the actual month. So generally, as in saying that December, the numbers for Christmas, we wind up getting those numbers in February. So does anybody have any questions? Lord knows I need all the help I can get, so throw it my direction.
That's all right, Ray. The second you mentioned Amazon, the Christmas place, and then you talked about some new businesses. You might hit the highlights in District 1 that you're aware of, and District 1 has a new sidewalk project, going right smack down Lebanon Road through the middle of it.
Actually, and I'll talk about the sidewalks first, Mark, because I'm not that familiar with the specifics of the businesses. I know the old Crystal building is being, you maybe know more about that than I do. There's a new business going into the old Crystal building from when they went out of business. It was just a matter of months before that was finalized, and they're, I think, doing the work now to open it up. But the sidewalks, interestingly, we received a grant from the state for the sidewalks, and if you've driven down Lebanon Road, you'll see those on the right-hand side starting at Nonnable Road, and I think they're probably halfway. They're probably halfway to.
They were like, at this time, we don't feel that your child needs it. I'm pretty certain they did that with every kid.
Hello? Susan, you might mute your.
Somebody's got a car radio on or something.
Susan. Want to welcome State Representative Susan Lynn.
Hi there. I'm actually on a phone call with a constituent in the Department of Education right now. So if you might be hearing them in the background, I apologize. They're having a conversation and I'm listening. So, but I know your phone call was on, Ray, and I wanted to be on to support you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Susan is constantly working, I mean, night and day for the district, and does such a wonderful job. And we're very, very privileged to have her in the position she's in at the state. And while she is the topic, Susan was actually instrumental in getting us an additional $800,000 to the state of Tennessee, or from the state of Tennessee, and grant money that came to us this year that we did not anticipate in our earlier budget. So that is going to go towards infrastructure, towards the police department rebuild, different other projects that we've got going on here in Mount Juliet. So big shout out to Susan Lynn and her work. The sidewalks that you were talking about, Mark, though, are going down. They're about halfway down now, past Midway Center on the left-hand side of the road, and will eventually go to the bridge down by the Little League ballpark, or the baseball fields, on both sides of the road. Right now, they're halfway down just on the left-hand side if you're traveling towards Lebanon, traveling east. And once again, the state grant providing for that. Ours is a 20% match, I believe. And as soon as they get finished with that side of the road, they'll be going down to, starting back up at Nonnable Road and going on the right-hand side down to the bridge. And so it was initially, it was going to be going to Mount Juliet Road and stopping. And Andy Barlow was able to work with the state of Tennessee and get the grant to take it on past Mount Juliet Road. So again, we're growing, we're doing things. Most of you are familiar with, over on Nonnable Road, we've got a new Dollar General that is being built. And you will be happy to know that there's brick on that building now. It is not a metal building, it's just a brick building. There were quite a few people that were worried about the brick being there. So that's been taken care of. We've got the Old Friends Dog Sanctuary on Nonnable Road that is being built. And so that's at the corner of Wintry Trace and Nonnable Road. And then we have apartments that are in the process. They're working on the intersection at Nonnable Road and 70 now. And the apartments will be going in after all the infrastructure is in place. They're widening that to a 3-lane road down to Lebanon Road from the apartment, which is just south of the entrance to Wintry Trace subdivision, and goes down to the first house there on the left-hand side if you're traveling up Nonnable from 70. So a lot of stuff going on Nonnable Road all of a sudden.
Ask and you'll receive, Ray, right? You've been plugging that for a long time, that area, but you mentioned briefly the police department. Would you share the plan for the Hardin facility that was approved, I believe, just last Monday night, the money for the improvements at the police department headquarters?
Yes, sir. That's actually for the dispatch location inside of the police department. Some will remember that that was originally Joy Church. And in 2012, we were able to work out a deal with Joy Church where we bought that from them and turned it into the police department. Now, while it's a beautiful place, if a tornado were to come through, which obviously we know what the possibilities there are, our communications center to both fire and police would be wiped out if they hit that building. It's not designed, and in that location, it's not designed to have a hardened center. And so we approved money. Matter of fact, the grant that Susan Lynn was able to assist us with is paying for hardening the communications location. So, I mean, basically they're going to be in and I'm going to call it a vault, but that's not what it really is. I mean, it is just a hardened location so that if the tornado does hit, that particular area would be protected. And so our communications to fire, rescue, and police would be protected to a greater extent than the rest of the building would be. There's some other things going in, trying to think what you do. Somebody help me out here. Generator, that's the word I'm looking for. Generators will also be in place, and that position will also be protected so that the generator and electricity would be able to keep the communications going, electricity be going for the entire place. And Mark, now that you brought that up, talking about fire and rescue, we also, of course, have completed the sale and have purchased the property on North Green Hill. And that property is going to be the location for the newest Mount Juliet fire station, which would be in my district, which would be also across the street from the high school. And we're actually in the architectural design phase for that particular building. So as soon as the architect gets finished, we'll be ready to build. The excavation has already taken place. The school project, they were actually compacting the site while they were actually putting on the school, or putting up the school. So we've got a lot going on, actually. I'm looking forward to that fire station being built so that we can come down then and start working on the next fire station, which will be the one at their end, and it will be a rehab project right behind City Hall.
I know you mentioned Green Hill High School. That's exciting, and it seems like it's getting closer by the day.
Yes, I love my children, and I'm so looking forward to them going back to school. At this point, I'll take a 2-day. It moves us closer. Every day is a step closer to them going back to school full time and getting a traditional education. And I think everybody is ready for that. And Mark, I'll ask you a question at this point. If I'm not mistaken, is the mandate for masks in Wilson County, does that lift today?
I haven't heard officially, but I believe that Mayor Hutto will be consistent in following what the governor's guidelines are.
I wasn't sure how that works. So.
I believe it'll go till August 30th.
Is it August 30th?
I haven't heard the official word, but our epi curve looked really good yesterday. We're not down below 10 yet. Saturday spiked a little bit. Thursday and Friday were both down from Wednesday. And I'm not exactly sure what he's basing that on, but he's been consistent in following the governor, and the governor has, I think, extended the mayor's ability to mandate masks.
Okay.
Leave until the end of August. Whether or not Mayor Hutto chooses to do that or not, someone on this call may know more than I do, but I would expect something probably by the end of the day, tomorrow for sure.
Okay.
If it's working, maybe we need to keep doing what works. So we'll see. Certainly, the longer Nashville keeps themselves locked down, if you will, the better sales tax collections are in at least West Wilson County, that's for sure.
And of course, we'll take every penny that Nashville Metro government wants to send our direction. So,
You know, and if you stop and think about it, it probably wasn't known at the time, but when the citizens, the voters, I want to say it was back in February, voted to increase the sales tax so that the money could go to the classroom teacher pay raises. That could also be one of the results, or one of the things influencing higher sales tax numbers as well. And in hindsight, that was probably a very good move, and it came at exactly the right time.
it's one of those times when unintended consequences actually went our way. So that doesn't always happen. When it does, we're ecstatic. Eddie Poole had a question and I lost it. So
Marla might know.
Yeah, I was just wondering how many apartments were going to be down on that complex you come out on Notable.
Eddie, the number, the last number I remember was 325 apartments. And I'm not a fan of apartments. I think most know that. I think we're kind of inundated, especially in the south end of our city. And I'll tell you the story on that. That actually was zoned by the county to be apartments when they were zoning for Wintry subdivision. And the county zoned that, and they went ahead and got the zoning for the apartments at that time. We since annexed it. When we annexed it, we could not take away their zoning for apartments, but they did come in asking for a planned unit development, which is a PUD. And when they came in asking for that, we saw an opportunity to be able to negotiate, and so we kind of got the best deal we could get. I think it was 50% brick. The other could be siding. At that time, we did not have a 100% siding. Or 100% brick and stone ordinance. So that kind of left us in a spot, but Mr. Earhart was very easy to work with and willing to work with. And so we were able to take off the first, I think it's 6 acres along the front, and that's going to be commercial on Notable Road. Then in the back is going to be the apartments. Out of that, we also wound up they're paying for the widening of Notable Road from that location down to Lebanon Road. There will be 4 lanes coming off of Notable onto Lebanon Road. Well, actually, let me clarify that. You have 1 right-hand turn lane, 2 left-hand turn lanes, and one of the left-hand turn lanes is being added. So 2 lanes of traffic will be able to exit Notable onto Lebanon Road at the same time. And then, of course, in what they call it, we can't call it getting on the road or getting off the road. We have to call it ingress egress. That's that's the pretty term for it. But so the ingress coming onto is just going to be 1 obviously right hand turn, and then the normal left hand turns going on to the right or the northbound travel lane. Then they also have to pay for the updated signal box, and they have to pay for the new red lights at that location. And any changes and upgrades that we might have to Lebanon Road there to make that happen, the developers also have to pay for. So they were not exactly ecstatic about the changes that were made, but since they were requesting them, they went along with them. Then that's been over 10 years ago that was actually redone by the city, and 20-something years ago that it was actually originally zoned by the county. I don't know the time frame on that. I know they're working at the intersection now, so they can't do anything until the intersection and the roadways are all fixed. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. I hope, it's kind of a side note, somebody been around Mount Juliet as long as you have. I hope we hang on to the ham store. I know eventually, everything changes, but I just glad it's still there and hoping to stay for a while.
After some of the weather events that have taken place along that stretch of road right there, which you remember probably back in the 80s or 90s when we had a tornado there, how it went by and didn't wipe that store out, nobody knows. And we've had tornadoes since then have come down that corridor, the Lebanon Road corridor, and it still has not hit Rice's ham store. So I think there was some straight line winds that come through and took some boards off of the back of it the other day and part of the electric, and then they put it back up, and they're rocking and rolling, doing their thing. So I'm thinking probably if the developers around here wanted to look at an example of what needs to be built, they need to go look at Rice's Ham Store, because this went through 4 tornadoes that I know of without going down.
That's, that store's been around for a long time and probably is one of Mount Juliet's, maybe the only business that's ever actually been picked up and rolled. Ed Rice came in the office one day and was telling us the story about it. Apparently it used to be on the other side of the road, or when they brought the road through or whatever, they picked it up, put it on little logs and hooked it to some mules and literally rolled it across the street. So what you see right now, that's the front door, used to be the back door, as I understand it, but been around for a long time and sent country hams to probably presidents since Truman back in the 50s, I suppose. I'm not sure. But,
it has been around a long time, and that was an old general store that sat across the road. Most of you know where the Humble Hoagie is now, and that was actually right beside that location.
Yep.
They did move it across the street, and like I said, there was no way. It was on logs, and it was being pulled by mules. There was at that point, there was no other way to move a house. It was that long ago, and it's been there ever since.
Same family. It was a general store. I went in one time to ask for something specific, and that didn't go over real well. But anyway, does anybody have any questions for Marla? Or Marla, do you see any questions anybody has for Commissioner Justice? Ray, to use these opportunities wisely. As a sitting commissioner seeking re-election, don't miss an opportunity to ask for your followers to vote for you in the upcoming election. Not this one, but the next one.
Right. Yeah, I'm not. This is always an interesting time of the year, because very few understand the fact that we actually have 2 elections that take place, being the primaries, obviously, and now and then of course the presidential election. I'm always on the ballot with the president. So it means that we have a bigger turnout. I would ask everybody to go vote, obviously. I've spent a lot of time in Mountain Juliet, actually probably 90%. There's a lot of folks out there, and I saw Michael Lynn was on there a while ago, and Michael and Susan, they talk about me getting a rash when I leave Mountain Juliet city limits. It does bother me. I like to stay home. I don't like to travel a whole lot. Try to take care of the people in my district. I try to take care of the people in the city of Mountain Juliet. They're my neighbors, and they were my neighbors and friends a long time before the city ever existed. So I don't necessarily look at myself as being an advocate for the city of Mountain Juliet. I look at myself as being an advocate for the people that live in Mountain Juliet. And so therefore, I had somebody yesterday actually call me, want to know if I was employed by the city. And the answer to that is no, I'm employed by the people. They elect me, and so I take care of them. Sometimes the people's interests are not aligned exactly with the city's interest. And so we have to work through that. And that's what I have found myself doing for many years here. I've actually got it down to somewhat of a science, in that we'll go in, we'll find the problem, we'll find a solution to the problem, then we'll try and initiate the problem. And if it doesn't get initiated, then I yell a lot. And that's actually worked, believe it or not. And of course, I am joking. I don't yell very much.
I did see it work that one time, Ray.
Did work at one time, yeah.
Hey, share with us real quick. I know something else that you've been working on is the addition to opportunities to grow our park system. It's been on the last few meeting agenda as discussion items, and I know we're making some progress securing parkland.
Yeah, I will tell you, there were 4 pieces of property that were being considered. I think the Parks Board has whittled that down to a couple of pieces of property. One of those is a 57-acre tract of land that is actually on Beckwith Road, with one entrance coming up Beckwith Road, and the other side of it comes up to Stone Hollow. It's 57 acres. It's rolling. It is gorgeous land. Then we've got another close to 9 acres over here near Tate, or off of Tate's Lane, and at West Division Street. The putt-putt, what we call the putt-putt, is the Cedar Creek Sports Center, has been under consideration. And I don't know whether that's still under consideration or not. There's another piece with Windtree Golf Course that they've been talking about. And the Parks Board has met and said that they wanted to purchase the piece of property off of Beckwith Road. They're looking at that property being, first of all, at 57 acres, it literally doubles the size of the park land that is accessible to Mount Juliet residents. The other side of that is that it is in our urban growth boundary, but not in the city limits. Now, one of the opportunities we have there is to look at the growth that's going to go east. It's already in the urban growth boundaries. We still have to purchase our park land for the area that will be served someday. And I think most of you, Eddie's a realtor, so you know what I'm talking about when I say that, you know, there's just not a whole lot of usable land when you start headed east. So, you know, you need to take advantage of it, especially when it falls under a price that is, you know, that is a good market price. You've got to prepare. Now's the time to do that. We haven't always done that. And so the hotel motel tax that we have established many years ago that is dedicated to parks and recreation and large projects, capital projects for the Parks and Rec Department. That's the reason we are so happy when we have a big influx of people coming and staying in our hotels, because those people actually are paying taxes in those hotels. Those taxes come to the city of Mount Juliet and are dedicated to our parks and recreation. We did that specifically. Actually, I made that motion, I believe, in 2005, and it got passed. I was actually looking at that time for something to help us with Little League and football and basketball and soccer, so that we would have a funding source for them that was not, obviously they're private, so we were looking at something that the city was not going to be wholly responsible for and the taxpayers responsible for, and the taxpayers being obviously from out of town funding our local projects. So that's how that came to be. Mark, does that answer your question about the parks?
Yeah, it does. I think you said, and I may have written it down wrong, 57 acres with one entrance off of Beckwith Road. And I thought I heard you say the other off of Stone Hollow. What's the second entrance?
There is a little bridge, or not a bridge, a little strip of land on the back side of Stone Hollow subdivision coming off of Curd Road. And so there is access also to the 57 acres over there, or through a couple of other pieces of property that actually attach to it, in addition to the Beckwith Road entrance.
All right, thanks. I know that what you said about hotel motel tax, we call visitors, people that stay in the hotels, temporary taxpayers. And I know that the likelihood of someone coming in and wanting to build another hotel right now may or may not, the timing may not be right for that. But the timing will be right for it one of these days. And I know there were some folks that kind of eyebrows raised a little bit that we put a moratorium, if you will, for 2 years, I think, on new hotels, when some feel like maybe we should be encouraging hotels, but that'll probably be more market driven, and I think some understand the intent behind it, but we might want to keep our eye on that and not stymie the growth.
First of all, I didn't vote for that because I have had, I used the word moratorium one time before, I think you remember it. Matter of fact, it may have been, you may have cut my tires over it. I'm not sure somebody did. I know you and I had a conversation. I'm joking, by the way, before anybody gets upset. But I did use that word one time, and when I used that word, the fallout was not good. So I decided a long time ago, I'm never going to use the word moratorium. As a matter of fact, I have tried to not use the word never, because I found that those two words put you into a box, or actually into a corner that will get you in trouble. We had a person on the city commission who said we would never have a property tax in Mount Juliet. And while I don't want to pay any more property tax than what we have, I'm not going to be silly enough to sit here and use the word never without having some sort of a crystal ball and God giving me a divine word as to what's going to happen next year. So I won't use the word never, and I will never use the word, and I won't use, I'm not going to say never, I won't use the word moratorium. And I don't think that it was, I think it may have been for just shock and awe, because the timing of it being able to get anything through the process and get built in that section of Providence Central is actually about 2 years anyway. So
The conference center on the southeast corner, actually be the northwest corner of that corner, I guess, by the interstate. It would be wonderful if one day that came to fruition and Mount Juliet was in a conference space business.
I would love to see that. What I would have loved to have seen, and one of the reasons I was not able to vote for that project, was the apartments. And the other is that there was a lack of planning in that area. We're fixing to, and probably in the next 5 to 7 years, be undergoing a lot of hard strategic work in that location. And there needs to be a master plan involved in it, whether that's prompted by developers, whether it's prompted by the city, whether it's a partnership to get them all going into it, then, whatever that looks like. But that's the direction we need to be headed, and we needed to be headed before we turn around and completely zoned and now rezoned the southern quadrants. So that was my reason for not being able to vote for that. By no means do I not trust the developer or the landowners, because they're, the landowners over there have been here for, as long and longer in some cases than me. I've known them all my life and have all respect for them in the world. The developer I've had an occasion to meet and work with and some other stuff, and as far as I'm concerned, top-notch guy. I just don't want to lose an opportunity there. So I'm hoping.
Yep, I think everybody that was supportive of that project, and no secret about how important we felt like it was, even if there were some things that maybe some would have liked to have been different. I think we all owe it to everybody else to make sure that we do what we can to make it the best project possible, and to reap all of the benefits that hopefully will present themselves. Marla, do we have any questions? If not, we'll wrap it up.
No, we do not.
Ray actually came and is hanging out with us at the chamber, social distancing, time's about 8. But thanks for coming over and spending some time with us. I want to also, with everybody, share our appreciation for being so accessible and giving us time and give us an update. It's interesting and always beneficial to hear the perspective from as many of our community leaders as we can get. And Ray's always available. If you can track him down, catch him long enough, get him to sit down, he'll never let you down. So
Thank you, bud.
if he doesn't have anything else, Ray, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody, be sure to tune in on Wednesday morning. State Representative Susan Lynn will be our guest at 9 o'clock for Wilson County Wednesday. So with that, y'all have a blessed day. Ray, again, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Everybody have a great day.
Night, everybody.
Night.